Welcome to the ultimate, absolute best PS5 games coming in 2026. Yeah, I'm talking about the games that are about to define the next era of PlayStation, the ones you'll be booking days off for, the ones that'll live rent-free in your head for months. Now look, I know this is a long-ass video, but fear not, Ashley is here to guide you through this properly because this is not some lazy rush-through list. This is not your typical YouTuber, here are the top 10 PS5 games to be excited about in 2026, where I speedrun every game in 60 seconds and call it a day. No, my friends. We are going deep, like full deep dives on every single game on this list. Lore, gameplay, expectations, red flags, hype levels, all of it. That's why this video is pushing the 1 hour mark. And trust me, every single minute is worth it. But of course, not everyone has time to sit down and watch the whole thing in one go. So here's how to enjoy it the smart way. First up, I've got timestamps pinned in the comments so you can jump straight to the game you care about and spend a clean 5 to 10 minutes on just that. Secondly, save this video to a playlist and come back to it whenever you want. No rush, no pressure, or do it properly. Finish your gaming session around 9 or 10 at night, grab a pizza, some popcorn, your favorite drink, turn the lights down, and binge the whole thing like it's a Netflix series. However you decide to watch it, one thing is guaranteed: you are not walking away from this video disappointed. And yes, every single game in this video is confirmed for a 2026 release on PS5 and PS5 Pro. And in my opinion, every single one of these is looking like a day one purchase, at least in my book. So let's not waste another second of your precious time. Smash that like button like it owes you money, and let's jump right into the first PS5 game on this list. All right, let's break down this Wolverine gameplay trailer, frame by frame, because yeah, there is a ton of stuff packed into this thing if you blink for even a second. So first, quick rewind. Insomniac officially announced Marvel's Wolverine back at the PlayStation Showcase in September 2021 with that short teaser. All we saw was Logan sitting at a bar, claws out, end of trailer. That bar? That was the Princess Bar in Madripoor. And guess what? This brand new gameplay trailer literally brings us right back there, full circle. And after years of waiting, delays, radio silence, people starting to lose hope, Sony finally confirmed it. PS5, fall 2026. Lock it in. Logan in this game is being played by Liam McIntyre, which officially makes him the second Australian actor to play the most Canadian superhero of all time. That will never not be funny. Now, the trailer opens with a straight-up insane close-up of Wolverine's blood-covered face. You can literally see the pores in his skin. Then immediately after that, boom, different outfit, and he's stabbing straight through a cybernetically enhanced enemy. These guys are Reavers. Full comic lore here, the same type we saw through the X-Men comics and in the Logan movie as well. And every Reaver in this trailer has the same logo on their chest, Trask Industries, which means, yes, Bolivar Trask is absolutely involved here. The man behind the Sentinels is also behind these cybernetic soldiers in this story. And that matters a lot. This whole opening section takes place in Lowtown Madripoor. You can tell from the signage alone. English, Chinese, Malay, all mixed together. That's because Madripoor is canonically in Southeast Asia, near Indonesia and Singapore. The trailer nails that atmosphere. And then we get confirmation of one of the main villains, Omega Red. Big, brutal, comic accurate. Carbonadium coils, life-draining abilities, all of it. And the scale difference between him and Wolverine looks perfect. Logan is short and stocky, like he should be. Omega Red is towering over him. Then we hear Logan talk. Been fighting longer than I can remember. That line is doing a lot of work because Insomniac already confirmed this version of Wolverine is an unreliable narrator. He has memory gaps. The story of the game is literally Logan trying to piece together his own past. Now here's a detail I absolutely love. When Logan is slicing through these Reavers, they bleed and spark at the same time. Because they're not full robots, they still have human tissue mixed with cybernetics. And Wolverine is covered in blood by the end of these encounters. His gums, his teeth, even his outfit gets progressively torn up. From what we can tell, outfits don't magically reset either. You get damaged, you stay damaged. That's such a sick detail. Then we step back into the Princess Bar itself, which is a legendary comic location for Wolverine specifically when he was operating under his patch identity. Even the neon signage checks checks out. The register inside reads 1974, which is the year of Wolverine's first full comic appearance. And there's a Quebec license plate that reads HLK 181, a direct reference to Incredible Hulk 181, the exact comic where Wolverine officially debuted. This trailer is loaded with respect. We also see a bartender in a green dress that a lot of people think could be Viper. And if that's true, yeah, things are going to get messy in the best way. Location-wise, this game is confirmed to move between Madripoor, Canada, and Tokyo. We definitely see Canada in the trailer, with snowy forests and lakes. Then later, we see environments that clearly look like Tokyo, with vending machines and alleyways that don't match Madripoor's layout. Now the yellow suit finally shows up, sleeveless, classic, and suddenly we're surrounded by Trask shipping containers, which heavily implies Sentinel parts are being moved through these cargo routes. And just to make sure you didn't miss what they're teasing, the trailer literally ends with a Sentinel smashing out of a building and locking eyes with Logan. We also get a very quick look at Mystique shape-shifting from a Reaver back into her blue-skinned form. And according to the PlayStation blog, some characters will fight alongside Logan, which heavily suggests Mystique could be playable, or at least an active ally. Traversal looks fast, brutal, and vertical. Motorcycles, rooftop parkour, climbing collapsing buildings, cable swinging, wall shredding. The city layout in Madripoor alone looks layered and insane. Hightown towering over Lowtown like a crime-ridden food chain. Visually, it's really impressive. Combat-wise, it's exactly what you'd want. Fast claw strikes, brutal finishing moves, environmental takedowns. One of the kills shown is literally ripped straight out of the Logan movie when he stabs through the chin and out the head. No subtlety, just violence, as it should be. Now, the big question going forward is the Marvel crossover potential. If Hulk 181 is referenced directly in the environment, that opens the door. Snowy Canada, Wolverine, Hulk. That fight writes itself. And if we're going to Tokyo, there's also room for characters like Silver Samurai. And with Mystique already confirmed, yeah, this roster could get interesting real quick. Insomniac says we'll see the game again in spring 2026, so this trailer is clearly just the opening salvo. But based on what we've seen here, Madripoor is done right. The brutality is intact, the comic references are obsessive, and the Sentinels are coming. Now the real question I'll leave you with, who do you think shows up next? Hulk, Jean Grey, Silver Samurai, or do they keep this story tight and focused on Logan alone? Alright, so one of the most unexpectedly impressive games coming in 2026 is Tides of Annihilation. And what you're seeing right now, captured on a PS5 Pro, is a mix of cinematics and gameplay that is just absurdly good looking. Like, my brain physically struggles to process how this is real. Now, the studio behind this? Eclipse Glow Games. Never heard of them? Yeah, same. Turns out they're brand new, but here's the kicker. They've got that Tencent money backing them. And the dev team, it's stacked with industry veterans, many of them from Ubisoft, which, if I had to guess, probably means this is an offshoot of Ubisoft Shanghai or something along those lines. And here's the thing, this is yet another massive game coming out of China that makes a lot of Western studios look like they're just not even trying. The tech, the visuals, the sheer ambition of it, it's on another level. Now, we've seen this kind of thing before. Game comes out, looks mind-blowingly good, and then, well, reality hits. So the rule of thumb here is cautious optimism. But, and this is a big but, what they did next really stood out. Instead of just dropping a cinematic-heavy trailer and calling it a day, they pulled a Crimson Desert move and showed off actual gameplay. And not just quick cuts, like straight-up raw footage, menu screens and all, which suggests they've already got a working demo. And then there's the gameplay itself. It's got that Nier and Stellar Blade energy, fast, fluid combat with this almost glowing sense of style. And the animation work? Insane. Cloth physics? Booyah. Even the summons look crazy, but the real test is always performance. Because when something looks this good, the question is, what's the catch? Now, if I had to guess, I'd say there's some dynamic resolution scaling happening. The cutscenes are crisp, but when things get chaotic, tons of particles, reflections, fast movement, you start to see a drop in sharpness. And that could mean one of two things. Either YouTube's compression is messing messing with it, or the game is quietly lowering resolution mid-fight to maintain frame rates, which, to be fair, is pretty common. But the bigger picture here, this is exactly why competition is so good for gaming. Because when studios put out stuff like this, it forces the rest of the industry to step up. Like, you hear companies say, oh, we just couldn't push NPC fidelity any further because of hardware limitations, and then a game like this comes along and just destroys that excuse. And the wildest part? This game probably cost a fraction of what big-budget Western titles do. I'd be shocked if it cost more than $100 million to make, and it's going to turn a profit fast if it keeps this level of quality. So yeah, this is a game to watch. If the final version delivers on what we're seeing here, it's going to be something special. Let's talk Crimson Desert. Let's start with what actually matters, what you'll be doing in the game, and why I'm kind of obsessed now. So here's the cool part. During the new demo, we got to see gameplay from about 15 hours in, not just as Cliff, the main guy, but as the Stag Lord. Yep, one of the actual bosses you'll fight. Turns out, some bosses in Crimson Desert aren't just there to get clobbered. You can play as them, learn their stories, and apparently relive their memories. It's not just beat the boss, move on. It's, hey, what if you could be the boss for a while? I love this twist. The game just keeps surprising me. During a siege, you can literally fix up siege weapons on the fly. Then there's this moment where you get to call in an artillery strike, just boom, raining arrows on your enemies. Oh, and the enemy? They're not messing around. They've got tanks that launch projectiles everywhere. It's wild. Combat? You need to stay on your toes. Enemies don't just stand there waiting politely for you to hit them one at a time. Nope, they come at you all at once, and if you're not aggressive, you're toast. But here's where it gets really fun. Special powers. Cliff has these magical abilities. Watch for that little leaf icon. And if you build up enough energy, you can launch yourself into the air, slow down time, rain explosive arrows, or even glide over to take out enemy tanks. And yeah, there are all sorts of arrows, explosive, freezing, you name it. Just be careful. If you're too close when you fire off an explosive arrow, it will blow up in your face. Ask me how I know. The boss fights are even more interesting. You can't just cheese your way through by spamming arrows from across the map. At some point, you have to get in close and finish the job with melee. And the game just throws new mechanics at you, like being able to slow time, switch arrow types, or even pick up huge weapons and use them for special attacks. Now, let's talk leaks. There's a big rumor floating around. Crimson Desert's release date got posted early by a Romanian game shop, December 2nd. Not confirmed yet, but the listing included a collector's edition with a 12-inch dragon statue, tarot cards, a physical map, and all kinds of stuff. The kind of box that makes your wallet cry but your shelf look amazing. Maybe it still launches in December, or maybe it slips to early 2026. I'm betting Gamescom is where we finally get a real answer. And even after all this, I feel like we're only scratching the surface. There's weapon variety, armor sets, a ton of boss battles, secrets everywhere, and the game keeps throwing curveballs at us. I just want to get lost in this open world for a weekend and see what else I can find. So, who's hyped for Crimson Desert? And seriously, what do you think about being able to play as the bosses? Would you want more games to do that? Or is that just me getting carried away?
Someone just tried to kill me.
Tell me you caught him.
So let's set the stage. IO Interactive just showed off 32 minutes of raw gameplay. It was running on a base PS5, not the Pro, not a dev PC, but the console most of us already own. Luke Stevens even double-checked this with the devs twice, and they confirmed it. That's a big deal because what we saw looked genuinely impressive, with a few caveats I'll touch on later. Now, here's what makes this demo fascinating. It's Bond, but not yet the Bond. No tux, no martini, no world-saving bravado. He's basically the chauffeur on his first mission, dropping off senior operatives at a World Chess Championship. He's told to wait in the car. That's his assignment. It's such a reversal because usually Bond kicks down the door, shoots 3 guys, kisses the femme fatale, and walks away with an explosion behind him. Here, he's literally holding the keys. But then, instinct. He notices a guy dumping luggage suspiciously over a wall. Instead of ignoring it, young James decides to investigate, and that's where we start to see the seeds of the Bond we know. show curiosity, initiative, and a little bit of rule breaking. And when the gameplay kicks off, I flexes. The level of detail is immediately noticeable. Bond brushes his hand against railings as he passes. His hair bounces realistically. NPCs aren't mannequins. They're busy. Gardeners actually garden. Maids clean rooms in sequence. Guards patrol dynamically. It's straight out of IOI's Hitman DNA, and it's not easy to pull off in a cinematic narrative game. Most engines aren't built for this kind of dynamism, but IOI isn't using Unreal. They've got their own tech. That tech is the Glacier engine, and honestly, this showcase felt like IOI planting a flag saying, yeah, our engine can hang. Glacier was always great at juggling physics and AI logic. Remember all the moving parts in Hitman maps? Chandeliers falling, guards reacting, entire crowds panicking. Now it's been juiced to handle cinematic presentation too. Smooth transitions between gameplay and cutscenes, contextual animations, and seamless level streaming. They've got real-time dev tools that let them tweak and export changes instantly across all platforms. And it shows. This is what makes First Light ambitious. It's not just another spy shooter. IOI is trying to merge two worlds: Hitman's sandbox depth and Uncharted cinematic spectacle. And honestly, that's Uncharted territory. Very few games have even tried it, let alone pulled it off. Once Bond decides to ditch the car and investigate, that's when the gameplay opens up. And this is where IOI really shows what they do best: systems and tools. Bond isn't just sneaking around with a silenced pistol. He's got gadgets, and not the goofy laser watch from the 70s kind either. These are modern, believable tools for a spy in 2025. His watch is always on him and works as your basic hacking device. Then there are mission-specific gadgets you can choose before deployment. Things like a cell phone stylus that fires projectiles to poison enemies or make them go berserk. In concept art, we even saw what looked like an AirPods case gadget, which IO teased but didn't explain. Now here's the twist. Gadgets run on a resource economy. Instead of 3 shots per mission, everything pulls from one of 3 shared pools: electric resource for hacking and electronics, chemical resource for poisons and toxins, a lightning bolt resource tied to social manipulation, like bluffing. Run out of chemical resource? You can refill by raiding a cleaning cart. Need electricity? Snag a battery from a tool shed. IO designed this to push exploration instead of forcing reloads. They don't want you saying, well, I wasted my gadgets, time to restart. No, they want you improvising mid-mission, scavenging, and stretching runs across big, complex levels. And then there's the bluff system, and I love this. Bond can literally lie his way past guards, staff, even random civilians. Walk up with enough confidence and claim you're supposed to be there, but not everyone. Some characters are flagged unbluffable. Think a security chief who knows his entire roster, or a target's right-hand man who isn't fooled by smooth talk. What's genius is how you combine these systems. Bluff the low-level guards, peel off the unbluffable with poison or distraction, then sneak past the chaos. Or skip combat entirely and ghost through by manipulating staff. It's IO's classic find your own way philosophy, just dressed in Bond's charisma. IO hinted that bluffs can work in creative, even comical ways, depending on who you're talking to and where. It's not press X to lie, it's systemic roleplay. That's a big deal for a Bond game. So, how does all of this actually play out in the demo? Let's walk it. After sneaking past guards and setting a distraction, Bond poisons one enemy, lights a small fire in a wheelbarrow, then parkours into the venue through a side window. That's straight up Hitman energy, but it's wrapped in a narrative-driven flow instead of a sandbox. Kill the target however you like. Inside, you see the resource loop in action. A cleaning cart becomes a refill station for chemicals. NPCs continue doing their routines. Maids, guards, staff, all moving like real people. But then the demo skips forward to avoid story spoilers, and suddenly, it's chaos. Your target bolts in a car. Cue the chase sequence. High octane, heavy on spectacle. Bond barrels down winding roads, weaving through traffic in a sequence that feels straight out of Uncharted 4. And here's where Glacier flexes again. The streaming tech keeps the chase flowing with no visible loads, while physics-heavy debris flies everywhere. The chase ends at an airstrip. Explosions, waves of enemies, pure blockbuster energy. Some people noticed enemy AI looked dumb here, just running toward Bond like stormtroopers, but IOI addressed it. This section is designed as a big cinematic push, not a tactical stealth sim. Think of it like a Bond movie set piece. It's about the spectacle, not perfect perfect realism. Then comes the plane sequence, and this was the showstopper. Bond manages to board the plane as it's taking off. Mid-flight, he uses his watch to hack into the aircraft's systems, and this becomes a bespoke gameplay mechanic. You literally tilt the plane, using the roll to slide heavy cargo crates into oncoming enemies. It's improvised, it's interactive, and it's exactly the kind of clever spy fantasy you want in a Bond game. The sequence escalates. The plane starts breaking apart. Bond jumps, grabs onto a parachuting target, and then bang, title splash. Classic Bond cliffhanger. Now, let's talk performance. This was all running on a base PS5, and Luke noted that most of it held steady, except for some dips during the most chaotic moments, when crates slammed around the fuselage or massive explosions filled the screen. Frames drop. Not game-breaking, not constant, but noticeable. And here's the thing. I'll take that honesty any day over a fake vertical slice running on a 5090 PC that gets passed off as console footage. This was raw, work-in-progress gameplay. IOI admitted the Gamescom demo was shown on PC, but the state-of-play footage was PS5. And if you ask me, better to see warts now than be blindsided later. What IOI is trying here is ambitious. They're blending the systemic depth of Hitman with the cinematic punch of Uncharted, two genres that usually sit on opposite ends of the design spectrum. Hitman thrives on freedom, experimentation, and replayability. Uncharted thrives on tightly scripted blockbuster moments. To merge those into one coherent Bond experience, that's not easy. But from what we've seen, they might just be pulling it off. The Glacier engine is a huge part of that. It's no longer just the sandbox murder sim engine. It's showing off real-time streaming, contextual animations, cinematic transitions, and physics-driven set pieces. IOI has clearly spent years evolving it to compete with Unreal and other industry tech. Of course, there are concerns. Performance hiccups on a base PS5 are a reminder that big ambition comes at a cost. AI in set-piece moments sometimes looks a little brain-dead, and while IOI insists those moments are designed for spectacle, they'll need to balance it carefully so it doesn't feel like enemies are just cannon fodder. But here's the thing. I'd rather see honest gameplay with flaws than a fake, polished vertical slice that gets downgraded at launch. IOI showed us the real deal. They acknowledged where it still needs work. That honesty matters. So, Hideo Kojima finally dropped the first trailer for OD during his Beyond the Strand live stream. And of course, it's as weird and unsettling as you'd expect. This is Kojima teaming up with Xbox Game Studios. And right off the bat, the thing screams creepy, experimental horror. The game's official title is OD Knock. And yeah, that subtitle matters. Because throughout the trailer, you keep hearing this eerie knocking sound. On stage, Kojima even said, Jordan Peele is doing a different kind of fear. Mine is the knock. I'm afraid of big knock sounds, like only Kojima could make knocking on a door sound terrifying. The trailer starts with Sophia Lillis's character using a red card to open a locked red door. There's some redacted text hinting the story takes place 10 years after some horrific event. The card literally says, light the fires to celebrate their redacted. She steps into this gloomy house, rain hitting the windows, and there's a chest with candles inside, some of them shaped like those creepy Death Stranding babies. She lights them, and then everything gets progressively darker. Then it escalates. You see her character shaking in fear. A door creaks open behind her, and some figure starts walking closer. There's this Geiger counter-like clicking sound building up until finally, the thing grabs her head. End trailer. Classic Kojima. Give you almost nothing, but still enough to crawl under your skin. And keep in mind, this game is running on Unreal Engine, with Xbox reportedly helping Kojima Productions get the most out of the tech. Phil Spencer came out hyping it too, saying development is well underway, and that Kojima's innovating in gameplay, story, and player engagement. He even said OD is bold, unique, unmistakably Kojima, which, yeah, no arguments there. Kojima also added the kicker himself. It's really scary, and you'll probably do in your pants. That's literally what he said. So this isn't going to be your comfy, cozy cinematic experience. This is going to mess with people. Outside of that, everything's still under wraps. But we also got some extra updates from the live stream. More on the Death Stranding movie, and the first proper look at artwork and casting for Faisen. Kojima's cooking on multiple burners right now. So here's a fun little rumor to chew on. Red Dead Redemption 2 might finally be getting that next-gen glow-up. And get this, there's also talk of a Switch 2 port dropping sooner than you'd think. Yeah, I know. We've heard RDR2 next-gen patch rumors since 2020? But this new bit comes from Game Reactor, and honestly, it sounds a bit more legit this time around. Basically, here's the deal. Rockstar is looking at Red Dead Redemption 2 as one of its showcase ports. The source says the Switch 2 version is as real as the next-gen update. So, not just hot air. It might not launch day one, but if they follow the playbook from when Red Dead 1 hit Switch, we're probably looking at August, or maybe even the fall for RDR2. But let's talk next-gen. Fans have been begging for this forever. If you're on Xbox Series X right now, you're just playing the Xbox One X version. So yeah, it's 4K, but you're stuck at 30 FPS. PS5, even rougher, no native 4K, and still locked at 30. Meanwhile, every new game out there has spoiled us with silky smooth 60 FPS. No wonder a ton of people don't even bother streaming or replaying, and I keep thinking if they just dropped a 60 FPS patch, you'd see Red Dead Online actually come back to life. I'd 100% fire up some streams, not gonna lie. But it's wild that even now, we're still waiting for Rockstar to do the obvious. Now, for the Switch 2 crowd, believe it or not, this isn't as crazy as it sounds. RDR2 runs surprisingly well on Steam Deck, which, let's be real, isn't exactly a powerhouse. So I'd expect at least some sort of performance mode, maybe 60 FPS at lower setting, or 30 FPS with the bells and whistles turned on. Wouldn't shock me if we get some graphics/performance toggle. Of course, all this is rumor, nothing locked in, no trailers, no Rockstar blog post. But with GTA 6 delayed, this is literally the perfect window for Rockstar to get these side quests out of the way. Imagine RDR2 and maybe even GTA 4's next-gen ports finally dropping this year, just in time before GTA 6 launches and eats the entire gaming world for the next decade. Because, let's be real, once GTA 6 is out, who's going to care about a GTA 4 port or a 60 FPS patch for RDR2? If Rockstar's smart, they'll squeeze these out now, give fans a reason to double dip, and keep the hype cycle going all year. But hey, what do you think? Would you actually replay Red Dead 2 if it finally got that next-gen patch? Would you pick it up for Switch 2? Or are you just holding out for GTA 6 and nothing else? Invincible, a 2D tag team fighter based on the gloriously violent world of Robert Kirkman's Invincible. Now, the first thing that jumps out, this thing is coming to PlayStation 5 as well. Take that. Console wars? Seems like Omni-Man and Invincible aren't picking sides when it comes to platforms. It's also hitting Windows PC and Xbox Series X in 2026. The trailer, from what I'm hearing, promises some seriously destructive 3 versus 3 action. We're talking heroes and villains from the Invincible universe duking it out. Omni-Man, Invincible himself, Adam Eve, Thula, Bulletproof, and probably a whole bunch more. And yes, in true Invincible fashion, it's gonna be bloody. Like paint the screen red levels of bloody. They're definitely staying true to the source material there. What's even cooler is that some of the voice actors from the animated series, like the legendary J.K. Simmons, who voices Omni-Man, are seemingly reprising their roles for the game. That's a huge win for fans of the show. Skybound's been dabbling in the Invincible universe with a visual novel about Adam Eve and a mobile RPG, but this is their first proper fighting game, and it arrives hot on the heels of another superhero tag fighter announcement. Marvel Tokon, Fighting Souls, which is even upping the ante with 4 versus 4 battles. Talk about a superhero fighting game, boom! I gotta say, the prospect of an over-the-top bloody Invincible fighting game has me intrigued. The tag team mechanic sounds like it could lead to some crazy combos and strategic gameplay. Plus, knowing J.K. Simmons might be yelling "Think, Mark" while you're getting your face smashed in just adds another layer of awesome. Definitely one to keep an eye on for 2026. I'm breaking down the technology that's powering GTA 6, how Rockstar evolved from Red Dead's wild frontier to a city that feels almost alive. Red Dead Redemption 2 made us believe in mud physics and horse balls that shrink in the cold. But GTA 6? This isn't just a world that reacts to you. It's a world that's thinking about you. Every reflection, every person, every drop of rain. Simulated, calculated, and obsessed with realism. Rockstar didn't just make another open world this time. They built a digital organism. And the scary part? It might be smarter than we are. We'll look at the new Rage engine and why it's basically running on alien math. We'll talk about lighting so realistic it tricks your eyes, crowds that actually think, and physics systems that make chaos feel like choreography. And then we'll go deeper. How the PS5 Pro might finally give us 60 frames per second in Vice City, and why Sony and Rockstar are quietly building a partnership that could define the next generation. So grab a drink, settle in, because by the end of this video, video, you'll understand exactly why GTA 6 doesn't just push technology, it redefines it.
Hey, you looking for some company tonight?
You ever notice how every time GTA 6 comes up, there's always that one guy in the comments going, "Man, I just hope it doesn't end up like Cyberpunk 2077. And every time I hear that, my brain does a backflip. Like, what? Why? Why on earth would you think Rockstar, of all studios, is gonna faceplant like CD Projekt Red did back in 2020? GTA 6 is built in a completely different universe of development than Cyberpunk ever was. This isn't some duct-taped spaceship barely holding together with crunch, sweat, and prayer. This is Rockstar, baby. They've been cooking this thing longer than most TikTok careers last. Let's rewind a bit. Development officially kicked off around 2020, right after Red Dead 2 dropped and broke the internet with horse physics so realistic they made scientists jealous. There were even whispers about early concept talks back in 2014. So by the time GTA 6 drops, that's 8 years of pure, uncut development time. That's longer than most people's gym memberships and relationships combined. And the CEO of Take-Two literally said, "We're giving Rockstar all the time they need to hit perfection." Translation: no crunch, no panic, no ship it now and patch it later nonsense. Meanwhile, Cyberpunk was like a cake yanked out of the oven halfway through because the investors wanted dessert early. Sure, it looked golden on top, but bite into it and you're chewing raw dough. CD Projekt Red was cooking under fire. 6-day work weeks, broken promises about no crunch, and delay after delay that were more like snooze buttons than fixes. It wasn't enough time, and they knew it. When GTA 6 got delayed, it wasn't panic, it was precision. Now let's talk about performance, the part that had people sweating bullets. Everyone remembers Cyberpunk on PS4, right? That thing ran like a potato trying to play Doom Eternal. You'd turn a corner and your car would vanish into the void. But here's the thing, GTA 6 is being built exclusively for current-gen consoles. That means no PS4 ball and chain dragging it down. They're not trying to cram a Lamborghini engine into a lawnmower. This game is tailored for PS5 Pro, with Rockstar working side by side with PlayStation engineers to squeeze every ounce of performance out of that hardware. Leaks even claim it's running at 60 FPS on PS5 Pro builds. Maybe that's true, maybe it's wishful thinking, but at least they're aiming high instead of hoping it doesn't explode on boot up. Cyberpunk's devs literally admitted they built it for PC first and then tried to backward it to old consoles. That's like building a skyscraper, then realizing you need it to fit inside a shack. And while Cyberpunk's memory leaks were turning NPCs into T-posing eldritch creatures, Rockstar's Rage 9 engine is supposedly using AI to optimize load, basically making the game smarter about how it breathes. It's not just brute-forcing visuals, it's thinking about how to render them efficiently. And let's not ignore corporate philosophy here. CD Projekt Red had investors breathing down their necks yelling, "It's Christmas, ship it." Rockstar's parent company, Take-Two, has a totally different vibe. They're basically like, "We'll give you all the time in the world as long as the result breaks the internet." It's the difference between being told to finish your dinner and being told to make the best meal of your life. That's why Rockstar delays are never panic alarms. They're polishing brakes. Every major Rockstar title has dropped like a nuclear bomb of quality. GTA 5 launched on hardware that could barely run YouTube, and it still looked unbelievable. Red Dead 2 ran on PS4s so loud they could double as jet engines, and yet it was flawless. When CD Projekt released Cyberpunk, it was so broken, Sony literally deleted it from the PlayStation Store. Think about that. PlayStation said, "Nah, we can't sell this." Can you imagine a world where Rockstar releases GTA 6 and Sony pulls it down? Yeah, me neither. Because when Rockstar launches a game, it's an event. Midnight releases, lines outside stores, everyone going home, booting it up, and texting their friends, "Holy crap, it actually looks like the trailer." Even the way Rockstar handles crunch has evolved. They got dragged after Red Dead 2, and instead of doubling down, they adjusted. Jason Schreier reported they're actively avoiding that brutal dev grind. Because when your team's not burnt out, they can actually think. Creativity doesn't bloom under a 100-hour work week. It dies there. Cyberpunk's devs were literally clocking in triple digits. One guy said they were working so much, they didn't even know what day it was. That's not game development. That's a hostage situation with code. So yeah, when you line up the evidence, it's not even close. GTA 6 has the time, the tech, the freedom, the track record, and the right structure to pull off a smooth launch. Meanwhile, Cyberpunk was like watching a beautiful sports car try to race on square wheels. Supposedly, there are fully explorable malls and skyscrapers, complete with working elevators. That's not even that wild. Rockstar loves those little details. Then there's talk about over 700 shops you can enter. But come on, that's gotta be a catch-all for every bodega, vending machine, and sketchy backroom in Vice City, not 700 unique Best Buys. You know, there's even a rumor you'll be able to play as Jason, Lucia, or both at once, like some weird co-op. But honestly, that's the kind of thing I'll believe when I see it. The weapon system, more Red Dead vibes, with you carrying a couple guns and the rest in your car trunk. That one, I totally buy. They even hinted at it in the trailer. And then there's all these random, hyper-specific details, like Jason's pet iguana, which is actually in the trailer if you look close. Lucia's ankle monitor, apparently, is just a story thing. It gets ditched early, so you don't need to worry about being locked out of the map. Kinda hilarious how much people speculated about that, and then it turns out to be a throwaway detail. Special abilities are back too, apparently. Jason gets a slow-mo, dead-eye thing. Lucia gets some one-shot special move. Rockstar loves that stuff, so sure, I'll give them that one. And then we get to the stuff that honestly just sounds like standard game development, like features being cut or reworked because of delays, or chapters getting chopped up and rewritten. If you've followed Rockstar, that's just how they work. I mean, GTA 5 went through a million changes, so that tracks. There's a lot of talk about the world feeling more alive, male strippers at clubs, no returning GTA characters spotted yet. But like, who's surprised? Not me. Apparently, there's no secret map like Guarma either. And listening to music on AirPods while walking thing isn't a thing, at least for now. Maybe they add it, maybe not. And the social media feature, still bare bones apparently. Sounds like the Rockstar way. Now, the so-called naughty scenes are apparently super tame. Camera pans away, nothing explicit. If you were hoping for GTA to outdo Cyberpunk in the nudity department, yeah, it's not happening. There are some cool details, like being able to buy beer at a shop for real and not just in a cutscene. That's the kind of thing I love, honestly. But then there's random bits like Donnie being Jason's weird friend, or some mission where the cops betray each other. Classic GTA, but nothing mind-blowing. There are some claims I just straight up don't buy. Like, there's this one about Lucia having a kid, but it not being a big deal in the story. That just feels like an old theory that's been recycled 1,000 times. And everything I've heard suggests that's not a thing. I'd be shocked if Rockstar actually went there. Other stuff like being able to greet or antagonize NPCs, bigger city layouts, removing the ability to go prone, no dual wielding, no Disney World knockoff. All that feels like typical game dev stuff. Rockstar's always changing features up until the last minute. Oh, and the map? Supposedly it's a rectangle, no panhandle, just like GTA 5. People have been crying about that online for months, but honestly, that just sounds practical. The wanted levels going back up to 6 stars, which, thank God, because 5 stars just doesn't hit the same. There's even talk about relationship bars, weight mechanics, underwater treasure hunting, more gore. Here's the thing though, Rockstar's so secretive. Half the time, even their own dev teams don't know what's in the final game. Sometimes they intentionally plant false info just to track leaks. So unless it's in a trailer or straight from the Rockstar newswire, take all of this with the biggest grain of salt you've got. But hey, it's always fun to speculate, right? So, ANANTA just dropped a brand new trailer, and honestly, this thing screams GTA clone, but with anime paint splashed all over it and some Spider-Man swinging thrown in for good measure. It's being made by NetEase and Naked Rain, and the vibe is crystal clear. They're chasing Rockstar's formula, they're chasing Insomniac's formula, and they're not shy about it. You're put in the shoes of a special task force leader, but from the trailer alone, the game looks like it doesn't know what it wants to be. 1 second, you're a cop busting gangs in the street. Next second, you're a hacker, then a delivery driver, then a live streamer. That's not depth. That's throwing spaghetti at the wall. And yet, I can't lie. It looks entertaining as hell in the same way Saints Row used to be. Messy, chaotic, but with enough weirdness that you want to poke at it. And the Spider-Man comparisons? Oh, they're not even subtle. The devs are hyping this ultra-free 3C system, which basically means you can climb, swing, and scale anything in the city. Watch the footage and tell me that's not Insomniac's web swinging with the serial numbers filed off. Grapple hooks, zip lines, rooftop vaults. It's Spider-Man without the spider. And that's on top of cars, buses, taxis, subways, and even helicopters, all straight out of GTA's playbook. So yeah, it's GTA meets Spider-Man meets anime. The combat, again, total mash up. No monsters, no aliens, no supernatural stuff, just street brawls. And it leans hard into that beat-em-up vibe. You're picking up trash cans, golf clubs, random junk lying on the sidewalk, and smashing people with it. Dodges, parries, combos. It looks like Yakuza mixed with Spider-Man's melee system. Later in the trailer, you see the character whip out some high-tech ranged weapons, and then, get this, you can swap between other characters in the middle of a mission. That's GTA 5's character switching mechanic all over again. But here's the kicker. ANANTA doesn't even try to ground itself. It fully embraces the bizarre. You've got toilets sprinting down the street. You've got rooftop parties and surreal little Easter eggs tucked into alleys. The whole city is vertical, stacked on top of itself, almost like someone asked, what if GTA's Los Santos was designed by a fever dream? It's ridiculous, but at least it's honest about being ridiculous. The real question is, does it work? Because we've seen plenty of GTA wannabes crash and burn. Sleeping Dogs pulled it off and became a cult classic. Saints Row pulled it off back in the day. But for every one of those, you've got 10 lifeless clones that forgot why GTA worked in the first place. Swinging like Spider-Man sounds cool, but if the story and systems aren't tight, then it's just a flashy gimmick. And yes, before you ask, it's free to play. That right there is the wild card. Free-to-play open-world games usually mean monetization up the ass. Skins, boosts, maybe even pay-to-win mechanics. NetEase isn't making this game out of the kindness of their hearts, so don't be shocked when you see Spider-Man-style skins and GTA-style car packs locked behind paywalls. The game will be playable at Tokyo Game Show 2025, and it's launching on PS5, PC, and mobile. And yeah, I'll try it because I have to see if this thing is a train wreck or a hidden gem. Okay, so the whispers from the shadows are getting louder about the next Assassin's Creed game, codenamed HEXE, and it sounds like Ubisoft might be about to shake things up in a pretty significant way. Remember back in 2022 when they teased a couple of new Creed games, Red, which we now know is Assassin's Creed Shadows, and this mysterious HEXE? Well, while we've seen plenty of samurai action with Shadows, HEXE has been shrouded in secrecy, only hinted at as being a very different type of Assassin's Creed experience. Now, a new rumor is swirling. And if it's true, it's a game changer. Apparently, HEXE will feature a female protagonist named Elsa, and the story sounds dark, like really dark, revolving around her seeking revenge after her mother was executed during witch trials. Creepy, right? But here's the kicker, the part that makes this news particularly noteworthy. There's no mention of a dual male protagonist alongside Elsa. Apparently, the numbers consistently show that male protagonists are preferred by a significant chunk of the player base, hence the usual approach of giving players a choice. So, if this rumor about Elsa being the sole protagonist in HEXE is true, it signals a potentially bold move from Ubisoft. Are they finally ready to buck that trend and trust a female lead to carry a mainline entry on her own? Or could there still be a surprise male character reveal down the line? Given the dark, haunting tone of the game supposedly revolving around witch trials, a solo female protagonist could actually fit the atmosphere perfectly. It could offer a very different perspective and narrative than what we're used to in Assassin's Creed. I'm definitely intrigued to see if this rumor pans out. What do you guys think? Would you be down for a solo female lead in a mainline Assassin's Creed game with this kind of dark setting? Ubisoft Singapore is leading the project. Now, if you don't know them, they're the studio behind all the water physics in Assassin's Creed. Like every time you've stared at the ocean in Black Flag, Origins, Odyssey, Valhalla, or even Shadows, and thought, damn, that looks ridiculously real, that was them. Of course, they're also the ones who made Skull and Bones. Yeah, I know, not exactly the legacy you want to brag about, but here's the logic. They just built a ton of pirate assets, ships, and systems for Skull and Bones. Ubisoft looked at that and went, well, we're not going to throw this stuff in the trash. Let's recycle it into something people actually care about. And honestly, that makes perfect sense. Now, the timing. According to Video, who have been right before on Ubisoft leaks, the Black Flag remake is currently aiming for early 2026. Originally, it was supposed to come out way sooner, maybe even stealth drop this fall. But then Assassin's Creed Shadows got delayed, everything shifted, and now we're looking at like February or March, which, let's be real, is probably smarter anyway, because late 2026 is already packed with HEXE. And on top of that, you've got GTA 6 in May. And if that thing slips into fall, forget it, nobody's competing with that. But let's get into the fun part, what's actually changing. First, combat. The original Black Flag used that old paired animation system where every move felt like a dance. You attack, the enemy counters, and it all locks into this little cinematic. cinematic. Back in 2013, that felt cool. Today, not so much. So the remake is moving to the newer RPG-style combat we've seen in Origins, Odyssey, Valhalla, and Shadows. That means loot, weapon stats, gear systems, the whole RPG setup. Now, some people are thrilled about that because they hated the old combat. Me personally, I grew up with it. Yeah, it's clunky, but it's also kind of cozy. Still, I'll keep an open mind. Then there's exploration, and this is where it gets exciting. No more loading screens when you dock or leave a city. You can literally sail straight into Havana, hop off the ship, and walk right into the streets without a single cut. That's massive. It makes the world feel alive in a way the old tech just couldn't handle. And they're not stopping there. They're reworking the map. The original had all these little islands that were basically just set dressing. Now they're actually filling them with activities, side quests, and reasons to explore. So instead of 2 chests and done, you'll actually have content waiting for you. And then, the story. They're adding back some of the cut content from the original, like Mary Reed's questline, which got chopped in 2013. That alone makes me curious, because it adds more depth to a fan-favorite character. On top of that, they're scrapping the modern day completely. Instead, they're padding the opening with extra pirate content. And honestly, I'm okay with that. I never hated the present-day sequences, but let's be real, they killed the pacing. Most people want pirates, not cubicles. Now, don't get me wrong, this isn't a Resident Evil 2-style full ground-up remake. Ubisoft isn't reinventing the game. This is more of a reinterpretation, updated with modern tech, new content, and gameplay tweaks to make it fit with what players expect in 2026. They're using the Assassin's Creed Shadows engine too, so visually, this thing should be stunning. And I'll be honest, I came into this expecting the worst. I figured they'd slap some Skull and Bones assets into the old game, bump the price to $70, and call it a day. But the stuff we're hearing, seamless exploration, filled out islands, restored storylines, RPG mechanics, it's actually sounding legit. So yeah, I'm cautiously hyped. Nostalgia makes me want the old combat back, but if they can modernize the rest of the game while keeping the heart of Black Flag intact, this remake could easily end up being the pirate game we've been begging for since 2013. A lot of you have been asking about this Godslayer game that just got shown off, so let's talk about it. First of all, yeah, it looks really, really good. Like, visually, it's definitely eye-catching. But here's the wild part. This is coming from the same team that previously worked on My Time at Porsche and Let's School. I would have never guessed this would be their next project, so props for ambition right out of the gate. That said, I'm gonna need to see this thing running live. I'm gonna need a real demo. Because while the trailer looks cool, there are a few movement things that feel off. The motion feels slightly staggered, like there's input lag baked into the animation. It's subtle, but once you see it, you can't unsee it. Now, to be fair, the actual systems on display are really interesting. You're breaking roof tiles with abilities. You knock over a water tower, the water floods the street, enemies get pushed by the current, then you freeze the water and turn everything into ice. That interlocking systems design is genuinely cool. One system feeds into another. I love that kind of gameplay design, and clearly a lot of other people do too, because this trailer already hit around 2.2 million views. People are feeling this concept. There are still signs of clunkiness though. The running speed looks weird in places. Sometimes it feels like the character is moving underwater on dry land. The frame rate dips in a few spots. Again, that stuff can be polished. That's not the hard part. The hard part is having a compelling idea in the first place, and here, the idea is actually solid. But the real question with games like this is always the same. What's the connective tissue? What are you doing between these insane moments? With Godslayer, it feels like they're showing us constant high-intensity spectacle. And that's cool, but nobody wants 15 straight hours of non-stop cinematic chaos. You need quiet moments. You need exploration. You need systems that breathe in between the explosions. So the real questions right now are things like, is there a leveling system? Is there exploration? Are there puzzles? How does progression work? What breaks up these massive set-piece moments? Because as impressive as this all looks, what happens between the cool clips is what's going to make or break this game. So yeah, visually impressive. Systems are promising. The concept is strong, but it definitely looks a bit bit rough around the edges right now. The animations need work. The movement needs to feel tighter. It has that give it 12 more months in the oven energy. That whole Ubisoft no mocap vibe, where things just feel a little stiff. We've seen this before though. Blood of Dawnwalker also looked rough when it was first revealed, and the latest gameplay trailers show massive improvements in visuals and animation quality. Alright, let's get into this one because the Blood of Dawnwalker just dropped a chunky 29-minute gameplay demo. And honestly, this might be one of the most promising dark fantasy RPGs we've seen in a while. So Rebel Wolves, the studio formed by ex-CD Projekt Red devs, finally showed off a proper extended slice of gameplay. And this time, it wasn't some ultra-polished trailer, it was a full narrated walkthrough. Real systems, real gameplay, real pacing. And it gives you a pretty clear idea of what this team is actually building. And yeah, it's giving Witcher vibes. Not in a copycat way, but in that these devs know how to craft mood, tension, and atmosphere way. You've got exploration across dense forests, foggy valleys, ruined villages. You've got detective work where you piece together clues, track creatures, interrogate peasants, combat that actually looks weighty now, and a world that feels grounded, lived in, and grimy in exactly the right ways for a vampire-infested medieval setting. What I really like is how the game blends slower investigative sections with sudden bursts of violence. 1 minute, you're following blood trails and interviewing citizens. The next, you're chopping through beasts and monsters with heavy strikes and magic. It feels like a proper dark fantasy with its own identity instead of trying to be Witcher, but with vampires. Rebel Wolves basically set out to create a story-first RPG with the emotional weight and world building of their previous work, but with more creative freedom. And you can see that in this demo. It feels personal, it feels handcrafted, it has that very specific European fantasy DNA. And the best part? It's still on track for 2026 on PS5, which honestly feels realistic given how polished this vertical slice already looks. If they keep refining the camera, tightening combat, and fleshing out enemy variety, this could end up being one of the most talked about RPGs of its year. If you enjoyed this video, hey, maybe drop a like. It really helps a lot and tells me you want more. Subscribe for day one gaming leaks and news, and check out these videos you probably missed. Trust me, they're worth it.